last year as a finding. It was resolved, and then unfortunately, because of staffing issues, that had to be undone for a little bit. But my understanding is now, today, that all the controls are in place, and this should go away in next year's audit. So by the end of the year, you guys had already implemented the controls related to this, and so this should be resolved. With that, I'll open up to any questions.
No questions? No questions? I don't have any. Can't think of any.
Okay, well,
Thank you.
we appreciate working with the city, and you guys have, actually, your accounting staff does a really good job.
Thank you.
For the amount of transactions you have, just to have one finding is commendable, to be honest.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy. And yours.
Okay, then moving on, we'll move into citizen recognition. Mr. Ray.
I do not have any, Mayor.
Okay, then employee recognition?
I do want to do two recognitions that are general and in a report. That guy that just walked out was one of the recognitions, so we'll recognize him. It was Wallace.
There
I looked
you
at that side.
And I was like, the auditor?
No, the auditor. We're going to recognize that. That was great. But for Wallace, the live streaming is fantastic, even though there may be some issues that video jumps or audio jumps. I think in the last week, we've seen a huge benefit from the live streaming. Wallace sent the numbers on Monday that showed that the candidate forum already had 82 views, and then the town hall meeting had 90 views. We had the first commission meeting. Now this is our second commission meeting. I think it's fantastic for people in the community that may not be able to be here to finally have this live access. I think that's phenomenal, and then to get the system set up is even better. So thanks, Wallace. Great job. It's excellent getting it going. So
Should wave at everybody in the audience.
because we are live streaming again tonight, so for those that couldn't make the meeting, they can check it out. And the second thing is to the crews. Commissioner McClure sent an email out to us that said to the crews that were working on Main Street on Sunday, they were out there all day, had every piece of equipment we have ever owned at the city, cleaning Main Street, and the end result was fantastic. That was the point of the email. I've had 5 emails from citizens saying the exact same thing. Main Street looks fantastic. For those that were out there working for the chamber that came out to volunteer, I think that's excellent. I don't think it's something that can happen on everybody's street, but it is an excellent outreach for Main Street. And so with those comments and the great work of the crew, it does look fantastic. I don't know how this wonderful snow is impacting all that, but as we've said before, with the street sweepers going down, maybe it's push brooms and vac trucks and hand blowers, but whatever it is, the crews did a great job on Sunday. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. All right, then we will move into the consent agenda. Items placed on the consent agenda will be voted on with one motion. If any item proposed does not meet the approval of all commissioners, a commissioner may request that the item be heard under items from the consent agenda. I would like to pull item B.
B as in boy?
Correct.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to pull item C as in cobweb and G as in GoDaddy.
Okay. So B, C, and G. Okay,
Madam Mayor,
yes.
I'd like to move to approve the consent agenda with the exception of items B, C, and G.
Okay,
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve this evening's consent agenda with the exceptions of items B, C, and G. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, under items from consent, then item B, which is the meeting minutes from February 9th. Just a second. On page 2, under citizens' input, Debbie Ventrella, on the second line, it says here that she has a sandwich board. She was actually referencing a banner sign. And that's all that I have on that. So if there's nothing else, then I would entertain a motion to approve the commission meetings from February 9th, 2016.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move to approve the commission meetings minutes from February 9th, 2016.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second?
I'm sorry. A motion and a second. I guess we should add as amended.
As
Is that-
amended.
Okay. Does the second include that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the February 9th, 2016 commission minutes as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, consent agenda item C is the memorandum of agreement with New Mexico Environment Department. Commissioner McClure.
I had a question on the description. It says that it happened, the description at the top says of the spill that happened August 15th. I think it should be August 5, because later on in the memo it says August 5, 2015.
Later in the memo.
The steps on it.
Yeah, on page two of the actual agreement shows between August 5th and December
Ah.
31st.
Okay.
It's also on the staff summary.
Where does the 15th appear?
Project description /
Yeah,
facts.
it's the first line on the staff summary.
Oh, on the staff summary. Okay. That should be August 5.
Should, right? Okay.
Is that it?
I think I had another question on this,
Okay.
but I don't know if it really falls under this, Mayor. The maximum reimbursement provided under this agreement is $158,200. Does that go into, I guess this would be, does that go in the general fund?
It goes wherever the costs were incurred.
So it could be split up between, okay, that's all.
Various departments.
So if the
That's it.
majority of it handled inside of the water department, or if those employees were the employees were that
So it goes back in
cost
their
incurred,
budget.
goes back to reimburse that fund for that activity.
Okay. That's all, that's good.
Okay. Any further questions on this item? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to move to approve the memorandum of agreement with the New Mexico Environmental Department.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the memorandum of agreement with the New Mexico Environment Department. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, next we'll move to consent item G, the Red Apple Transit Agreement. Mayor McClure, or Commissioner McClure, I'm sorry.
I just had a question. It went into effect August 1st, 2015, and it goes through September 30th. I'm just wondering why it took so long for it to get to us, like 4 or 5 months.
Farmington did not send us the agreement.
That
and so
Farmington,
we've tried to talk to them, but they just don't listen.
so it has to go
Is it-
through them first and then to us and let's say Bloomfield?
It does.
Okay, all right.
Correct, yes, ma'am.
Is it to do with federal funding, though, for the transit?
Well, this was an oversight. So
Gotcha,
I don't know
okay.
the date typically, but this was an oversight
Okay.
from our communication. We've had the communication with them. We've handled the financial obligations, but the agreement
Okay,
through both parties, we didn't recognize it, they didn't recognize it, and then
gotcha.
it was brought back to their attention, and they sent the agreement over.
So next year when this, or this year actually, when it comes up, it'll probably be a little sooner?
I do hope it will
Okay.
come before the time when they expect the first quarterly payment.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Hopefully. Okay, any further questions?
No, ma'am?
Okay,
That's
I
all
would
for
entertain a
me.
motion.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to move to approve the Red Apple Transit Agreement.
Okay, and is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the Red Apple Transit Agreement. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay. The next is citizens' input. If there is anyone here this evening who would like to address the commission on any item not on this evening's agenda, you may have up to 3 minutes to do so. We do need you to sign up at the clerk's table to your right. Thank you. Okay, we have Mr. Ken Self. You're getting to be a regular, Mr. Self.
Good to see you again.
It's good.
Yes, you let me speak last meeting, and so you might have opened a can of worms. I read an article in the Talon this week by a citizen who felt like the city should go in a different direction. That basically our coffers were drying up and we needed to do something different. I realized that the financial report was going to be discussed tonight, so I got a copy. As I look at that copy, I see that we have current assets of 23 million, 18 million in cash and cash equivalents. I see that we have fixed assets of 50 million against long-term, the part that I missed, current assets of 23 million against cash and cash equivalents of 18 million against current liabilities of only 3 million. That is absolutely enviable. Fixed assets of 50 million against long-term liabilities of 11 million, and 4 million of that is in the pension reserves. So we have total liabilities of 14 million against total assets of 73 million. I don't want to go in a different direction. I think that is absolutely fabulous. I have to say that the citizens elect a commission. The commission hires a manager. When we get these kinds of numbers, what's there not to like? And I just say, leave you alone. We had revenues of 18.5 million against expenses of 18 million. With those kinds of balance sheet numbers against those kinds of income and loss numbers, I don't know what to say. Now, the reason I got involved, my neighbors were talking, the two issues seem to be the golf course and O'Reilly's. We're going to spend $100,000 on the golf course. Man, that was just sacrilege somehow. Well, I live out there, and I was driving by, and I thought the same thing. Then I started thinking about it. It depends on the budget. It depends how much money we have. If we have $1 million budget and we're spending $100,000 on a golf course, well, maybe we shouldn't do that. If we've got $1 billion budget and we're spending $100,000 on a golf course, I mean, who cares? So I came to the community output or outreach meeting, and I think the city manager said that we'd lost $95,000. Now, I didn't find that in the reports that I got, and I sure didn't find it in the statement in the financial report of tonight. The financial report of tonight says we had total revenues of $101,000 against expenses of $128,000, which would indicate to me a loss of only $26,000. Now, if we had the $95,000 loss, that's only 0.5% of the revenues that's received by the city. We have great parks. Our streets are in great shape. We have places for our kids to play. How about a place for us old guys to play? So that's my only comment. I would like to be able to get these numbers worked out, because $26,000 loss and a $95,000 loss are not very close. And I'm having to answer questions to people, so I'd like to be able to answer them well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Self. Okay, we have no one else signed up for citizens' input. We have no business items this evening, so that will move us into the land use hearing. We have one hearing tonight, the special use permit for dog groomer and overnight boarding. Okay, everyone, please bear with me as I read through this lovely script we have, and then we will begin the proceedings. Okay, the following hearing procedure is for all hearings on tonight's agenda. A land use hearing registration form is located on the clerk's table for those who wish to receive a copy of the results from this hearing. You must provide your full name and current mailing address in order to receive a copy of the land use hearing order. If you wish to testify and provide comment on the matter at issue, you must register with the clerk on the land use hearing registration form and be sworn in with staff, the applicant, identified parties, witnesses, and interested persons. The meeting tonight will be conducted under procedures mandated by the New Mexico Court of Appeals in Battershell versus the City of Albuquerque, which are intended to protect the due process rights of all parties. Under this ruling, the following procedures will apply. Parties to the meeting will be identified, as will any witnesses the parties may wish to give testimony, as well as any interested persons wishing to testify and provide comment. City staff has a responsibility to assist the commission in fully developing the meeting record and may testify. All persons offering testimony will be sworn in by myself, who is authorized to administer oaths. All persons offering testimony will be subject to cross-examination by commission, city staff, and the parties to the hearing. Testimony will be limited to the relevant matter being heard. The item to be decided at tonight's public hearing is a special use permit for a dog groomer and overnight boarding. Testimony will be limited by myself. For the purpose of this meeting, applicants are defined as, I have Jill Cox. Okay. And do we have anyone else on the form, Carla? Other persons may be designated by the commission as parties. Thank you. Forgive me, Cheryl, you signed up as? I don't know, I'm trying to read it. You want to be able to talk?
What's that?
You want to be able to talk?
Party.
A party?
Party.
A party, because she's the landowner,
Building
correct?
owner.
Property owner, okay. So a party, okay, thank you. Okay, so other persons, so Jill Cox is the applicant. Other persons may be designated by the commission as parties if they can show to the satisfaction of the commission that they have an immediate pecuniary or direct interest in the outcome of the meeting. Witnesses are those persons designated by parties to present testimony on their behalf. Interested persons are those persons interested in the case but not identified as either a party by commission or a witness by any party. Okay. So aside from the applicant, Jill Cox, and a party, Cheryl Larrabee, and city staff, are there any persons who wish to be identified as a party to these items? Okay, seeing none. Okay. Okay. We have no one else to add to. Everyone's signed up on the form. As we move into the land use hearing part of the meeting, is there a challenge to the jurisdiction of the City of Aztec Commissioners to hear any of the hearings on tonight's agenda? Okay, seeing none. Are there any conflicts of interest or personal biases to be declared by a commission member?
No.
Okay. Have there been any ex parte contacts regarding the upcoming matters that a commission member needs to declare?
No.
Okay. Will the staff, excuse me. Have there been, will the staff, the applicants, parties identified by commission, all witnesses and any interested persons wishing to testify regarding the special use permit for dog groomer and overnight boarding, please stand and raise your right hand. Okay. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Okay, please be seated. Testimony and evidence must be directed toward the special use permit for dog groomer and overnight boarding, and any applicable federal, state, or municipal laws or regulations or criteria which the person testifying believes to apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue with sufficient specificity to afford us and other interested persons an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal on that issue. Any party, as identified by the Commission, may request a continuance of this hearing if able to provide documentation or evidence in support or opposition of the application, in addition to what was available at the time that notice of this hearing was provided. In the conduct of land use hearings, unless there is a continuance, if a participant so requests before the continuation of the initial evidentiary hearing, the record shall remain open for at least 7 days after the hearing. We will follow the order of presentations on the screen to your left. I will briefly read through the pertinent parts. First, staff will summarize the staff report to the extent necessary to enable those present to understand the issues before the commissioners. Then the commission members may ask questions of staff, and they may be cross-examined by the applicant and parties. Next, the applicant will have up to 15 minutes to address the commission. The commission members may ask questions of the applicant, and they may be cross-examined by staff and other parties. Then parties will have up to 10 minutes to address the commission. The commission members may ask questions of the parties, and they may be cross-examined by staff and the applicant. Okay, there are no interested persons tonight. Then the hearing will be closed to all testimony. The commission may discuss the issue amongst themselves. The commission will then make a decision and issue findings of fact and conclusions of law, move into closed session pursuant to New Mexico Statute 10.15.1.H-1, the Open Meetings Act exception, continue the public hearing until a specified time, or take the matter under advisement and announce their recommendation at a specified time. Okay, so now we will begin with staff summarizing the staff summary. Good evening, Mr. Homka.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the commission. Apologize if I sound like a frog. Caught what's going around. Tonight, you did a good job summarizing what's just sort of in front of you. It's the special use permit request. Special uses, as you know, are those that just kind of they're not prescribed for any particular district, they're not permitted, but if something should arise that someone wants to do as a business or put it in, then it usually falls either under conditional use, and those are listed, or a special use. I determined that this would be a special use permit. This address, many of you will remember, we use it for the Aztec Sparkles kind of as the headquarters. It's 106 South Main. It's immediately adjacent to the Taiwanese restaurant. All of the notices were sent out to the adjoining property owners. I received no telephone calls against the matter. I received one from, I had to really go back and look because it was busy that day, Ms. Doris Fleckner, I believe. I don't know if any of you know. I heard that anything in downtown is better than nothing, was her example, and then she explained to me what the independent order of Oddfellows was. So if any of you want to know that, feel free, I'll give you her number. But anyway, this is one particular case that in reviewing it, and I toured the facility that's owned by Cheryl Larrabee. I toured the facility with Jill, Ms. Cox, and could see what she was trying to do, and thinking it'd be a lively type of use for downtown. There are no parking requirements downtown, so this is the type of thing that, not that we have a lot of parking issues downtown, but some people always want to park in the block that they're in, and that could be perceived as the busy block of our downtown. It's zone C1 commercial, which basically all of downtown is zone C1 commercial. A lot of times, the reason this is before you is not for the dog grooming, but it's for the kenneling. And we did discuss this with our Plan App committee in brief while we were in Josh's office for some other reasons. And I'll tell you, this is the first time that we discussed something that an afterthought, even though everyone else thought, no, it's not a good idea. I'm thinking, I gave it and I explained in here sort of a tepid recommendation for approval. And I think that's really because the other members of the committee didn't have the opportunity to go and tour the building, hear what her vision is, and really what I would expect of Jill tonight, and told her in an email to explain to you what it means by boarding. Because when we all hear animal boarding or kenneling, we think we're going to go on vacation and leave for a week, and there's dogs barking for the whole week until mom and dad come back, and then pick up Poochie. That's not her vision. So I know I make it laugh, but it's kind of what the generalization is of boarding. That's why a lot of times in communities, the boarding facilities are limited to the manufacturing or industrial districts of all places, because it goes on with the noise and excessive things that go on with the site. So I can go through it all, of course, but you're familiar with the site. It's only 25 feet wide, 140 foot deep, typical downtown lot. The one concern that I did raise in there, and I saw, and I mentioned it with Jill, is it's a rather, depending on the nature and the length of the boarding, it's a small grass area back there for the animals, which means constant cleaning, or, there is parking, 2 spaces back there, so she's not required to have parking. She could, as a condition of your approval, make that into more grass area. Maybe we want to see how it works before we do that. I do offer, with the recommendation of approval, some considerations that this be reviewed again in a year, rather than just be given the carte blanche, and that if there are, I think, a couple of calls made, complaining about noise, that we have to have some sort of plan to deal with that. So, I see there's people in the audience that I didn't recognize, and I thought, maybe they all decided to come tonight instead of call, but no one seems to be here for it. With that, I think it's best to perhaps offer Ms. Cox the opportunity to explain to you what she's imagining there. Again, it's, I think, more for the grooming side, and not as much on the boarding side. So,
Are there questions from Commission?
Yes, sir. Madam Mayor, you kept saying in there that it was overnight boarding. when you
I
were,
did?
yeah.
Oh,
And
that's
so
how
I'm
it's
a little
presented.
confused. I thought it was like doggy daycare, and you get a shampoo and a cut and a cute little bow.
I think it's a minimal overnight boarding was what she told me, so I think we'd have to stress exactly, and again, that's why, Ms. Cox is here, and all of our applicants are always here, but to get it on the record from her, what exactly she expresses. My visiting her and touring is one thing, and putting a report, trying to convey that to the Plan App team is different than her getting an opportunity to tell you exactly what it is, so.
Okay. And another question. I know we're trying to save money in the city.
Okay.
Okay. So two of the letterheads that went out, one to Ms. Cox and one to property owner, have the letterhead for the city of Aztec from 2 years ago. I don't know if it's digital, if it is.
It's scanned in,
Let's just
so-
get rid of that digital copy. But
think we've
it's a
had-
small thing.
Yeah, no, it's a
but
big thing.
If
We-
anybody wanted to contact Commissioner
Mayor Pro Tem
Curran,
Crowley,
it
or
might not
Curran.
happen.
Maybe that's where all the calls went.
If you're trying to use up the existing stationery, then
That might be it.
You
I
know,
mean, if
this
you
is,
want to use the stationery, I'm all about just crossing it out.
This is the second time this has
Because the first one
happened
was
where
right. I didn't
someone
know.
opened the previous, like, an old document and just tried to use it, and it's the same.
Uh-huh.
I think last time, EDAB committee, we had old minutes and it had a paragraph in it from a year ago.
Okay.
Why do we do that? So,
Well,
I should have
because if
caught
it was
that.
about saving money, I'm all for it.
No,
And
it's just, it's all
if
digital.
we have reams of that stationery left,
No, none of it.
I'll go in there and cross some names out.
Thank you for pointing that out, though.
All right.
Okay.
That's
Any
my only question.
Further
if Mr.
questions
Curran
for
gets
Mr.
any phone
Humka?
calls, he'll probably refer them to the city manager.
Okay.
I'm sorry for that.
That's
Thank you, Mr.
fine.
Humka. Okay, Ms. Cox, as the applicant, do you have any cross-examination for anything Mr. Humka said that needs to be clarified? No? Okay. You do have up to 15 minutes to address the commission. You don't have to take that whole time, it's entirely up to you.
Okay, because I don't have anything prepared. Well, I've had a grooming business in the city of Aztec for many years. I've been grooming, and I had a boarding business years ago out of the city of Aztec. I actually had a grooming business in downtown Aztec recently, several years ago, and I'm now in with my dad at Aztec Animal Clinic. But my grooming business in Aztec, downtown Aztec, was just predominantly just grooming. That's all. I had a small area. But when I saw this new building and I'm trying to expand and get to a different place, it has potential for expansion to make more money and do different things, daycare, maybe possibly some overnight boarding for some of my little doggy client people that only want their dogs to be with me type thing, and then also for expansion for the grooming. So that's why when I saw this building, when you see it from the outside, you don't realize how big it is and how much potential it actually has for something different. And so when I got with Cheryl and started looking at it and took Bill there, that's how we came about with the plan. So it does have an outside yard that looks really small now, but it's also really cluttered, and it would be totally cleaned out and would be just basic, like small, like artificial grass or, some kind of graveling back there. So it looks really small right now, but I think it could be expanded to be a lot better. So.
Can you expand a little bit on the boarding piece?
Well, I don't know what the need's going to be for the boarding exactly for a long-term overnight stay and that kind of thing. I do know I have a real big clientele in grooming. I booked up 6 weeks ahead, usually 2 months ahead. I have, really big clientele. And some of them have expressed some needs, or can you keep my dog for me a couple nights, or that kind of thing, and because they just trust me, the dogs know me, and that kind of thing. So I have seen the need there. When I was at the other little spot in downtown Aztec, there was a need for that a little bit.
And that was
And so-
where Sweet Pea is now, correct?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Right, so that's kind of where my idea came from, when I saw the buildings, it's so big that I could, expand in that way. And it does have the outside yard. My other boarding business that I had outside of the city of Aztec years ago, it was actually by my home, and I lived right beside my shop. There was minimal barking, it wasn't loud. The biggest time when animals are barking, it was in the morning time, and I did have a big kennel at that time, but this wouldn't be that kind of a kennel. But there was no outside boarding where dogs stay outside at night ever. They get out for a little while in the day, but not outside at all.
And so is that what you're planning for this facility? That it
Well,
would be all
it just
inside?
depends on what the need is. It would totally be inside, yes.
Okay.
But they would be outside.
Right,
just
for
to go to the
playtime,
bathroom
do
and for
their
playtime
stuff,
and that kind of
yeah.
thing. And if the doggy daycare kicks off, there'll be some outside time during the day as well. And the owners will come, they usually just come, drop off the dog, come back in 2 hours, pick them up when I'm grooming. And if there was some doggy daycare, it'd probably be an all-day thing where they'd stay all day and come pick them up at night. Now, as far as the boarding goes, if it could be approved for that, there'd be some overnight stay, but I don't foresee it being a big old kennel, and there will never be any outside dogs, because there's no way to do inside-outside
Gotcha.
type deal.
And so, I don't know if you have an answer for this question, but I mean, what would you anticipate? I know you don't know the exact need.
Right.
But what would you anticipate might be like a maximum number of animals?
The
Yeah.
capacity for it right now in that building, I would say, if I was full capacity, 10 dogs probably at the most, I would be,
For boarding?
yeah. And that would be, because it's got separate rooms,
Right.
and I have my groom, I have a lot of grooming clientele, that kind of thing. So
Gotcha.
I would need to make room for that as well.
Okay. Other questions?
I realize the Thai restaurant's on one side. What's on the other side?
It's
Like Jack's Welding and some of those, is
It's
that?
actually
what's that?
No, that's on the other side
Oh,
of the
it's
street.
like-
It's like a.
Supposed to
it's
be a coming
musician,
recording
I think,
studio.
A musician.
And then behind it is the bank,
Right.
like past the alley. and
There is
is-
the
So
residence-
there's no residence like
Well-
immediately surrounding it, except for on the other side of the
There
bank.
is one that's fairly.
which is on Church
It's
Street.
across
Right.
the alley,
Right.
and it's kind of by where that lawyer's office used to be, and the bank there, right next to
HS2
it.
building, the hub building.
Yeah,
next to
Back
the
right
bank. That's
corner.
the closest residence.
okay.
And as far as the building itself, it's really well insulated, thick walls, it's really quiet in there, so I assume that if the dogs were inside, I never had any complaints when I was in the other building as far as barking dogs and that kind of thing, and I had quite a few dogs there at one time, so.
Did you have boarding in the other building?
No,
Okay.
just grooming. So.
Okay. Commissioner Rogers? No?
Nope, I got answered.
Any other questions?
No?
Okay. Thank you. Cross-examination, Bill? No?
She's gonna see, it sounds like she's getting chased around the county. It was the capacity issue that needs to be asked, so.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, Cheryl, I'm assuming you probably don't want to cross-examine Jill? No. Okay. Okay. Please come forward.
I'm Cheryl Larrabee, and I own the building, and I just wanted to give some input about the building itself and some statistics on the industry Jill's in. That building has 8-inch concrete walls furred out with insulation and drywall. It is a very soundproof building. It is, and I didn't get your measurement, but that building's 25 feet wide by 150 long. Okay, I thought you said 40, I'm sorry. So, and there is room to expand the backyard, so it is well. The setup in that building that Jill's looking at doing, there's, in the back part, there's 3 separate interior offices, which those are insulated as well. So I don't think the sound will be an issue. So this is what I want to throw out to you on the economic development side. 2015, the pet grooming, boarding, pet supplies was a $60 billion a year industry with a 5% growth rate, and it's one of the most recession-proof businesses that are out there right now. So I wanted to encourage the commission to not only be thinking about zoning, but economic development, and even though it seems like a small business, it's a potentially really growth-oriented business that people, no matter what the economy's doing, they're spending on their pets. And that's my only input. And if you have questions on the building itself, I can answer it.
Any questions for Cheryl?
No.
No? Okay, very good.
Thank you. No cross-examination? Okay. Okay. Are there any further questions from commission then before we close the hearing?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay, then I will close the hearing for all testimony at this time. And is there further discussion among commission?
I don't
I
have
just think it's a
anything.
great idea.
Okay. All right. No discussion, then I would entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move to approve 2016-007, an application for a special use permit to allow dog grooming business with minimal boarding/daycare as an ancillary service to the grooming customers only for the 9 findings of fact noted above.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I do have a question before we vote. Do you want to put any metrics as listed in number 9 in the findings of fact? The metrics monitoring the potential nuisance calls and a review of the special use permit after the first year of business.
I think with as well insulated as it is and it being dogs inside, I don't see it being a huge concern for noise. I mean, I think maybe if it was going to be outside and,
I think it's a wonderfully creative, and this is why we should have had discussion, but I think it's a wonderfully creative use for a facility downtown. I'm hesitant in putting in with that proximity to other businesses without some option to review and monitor.
Oh, it says we'd review in a,
Well, it says we could
Could.
require,
okay.
and those have to be included in the motion, that's why I'm asking.
so
I
then-
guess we could
I thought the 9
word
was-
it to the city will require. I mean, that's what Mr. Honka suggested that we do.
But then we need to define what those are, correct?
It says.
I think the 1-year suggestion would be appropriate.
Madam Mayor,
It's one of the 9 findings.
As you pointed out, finding 9 now is basically a permissive finding. The city's not required to do so, but would have the option of doing
So
so.
we would need to change the findings of
If you
fact.
wanted it mandatory, you would. And you could just change could to shall.
And then would we need to define what those metrics were, or leave that to staff?
Somebody with really good hearing standing outside the building.
Can we allow Mr. Humphrey?
Yeah, no, I think
We'll
from
open it
from
back up for
a legal
moment.
standpoint, you're better off to leave
Leave
it
it.
general, because if you start making it specific, then you
Okay.
risk leaving out something that you
Right.
wish you to put in.
So leave it to staff to define.
That would be my recommendation, you'd give you more flexibility.
Mr. Humphrey?
I think the 1-year review, and then we would, the number of nuisance calls, whether it is or isn't, would surface.
Right.
So, I mean, if it became one, you'd hear throughout the year.
Right.
And those folks would probably show up at the time of the 1-year review.
Right.
And
I'm just
it
thinking,
didn't,
if I were to
then-
take
Right.
Lady and Beast, and they start barking, the whole block's gonna vibrate down, and so, anyway.
They're
Don't they have
rather-
puppy muzzles?
So rather than say how many numbers of calls you need to receive, no, I'd rather just say, I threw it out there as
Right, if we
just
start receiving
something
them.
we'd probably be looking
Okay.
for, that's what we would get.
Okay.
But the 1-year review is probably something.
But you would be guaranteed the 1 year?
Well, if we say
And if-
shall,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, guaranteed to stay there a year?
yeah.
Right, and if there's complaints, you would deal with it with the code compliance noise
We would
issue
hear,
thing.
and then it's up to you if you want to bring it back, or if you just want to let it stand. So I would-
At the year.
Yeah.
Okay. So just change it to shall review.
So amend the
So
motion.
that's up to the person who made the motion, if they want to amend the motion to change the findings of fact on number 9 to say shall.
Okay.
The city shall require metrics monitoring the potential nuisance calls.
Okay, fine. So to continue, for the 9 findings of fact noted above, with number 9 stating shall
Rather than could.
rather than could.
Okay.
Is that? okay?
Yes, that's sufficient.
Okay.
I'll still
You'll
second
still
it.
Carla, did you get the rest of it, the initial motion?
Okay. And there's a second as amended. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes.
Got it? Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve 2016-007, an application for a special use permit to allow a dog grooming business with minimal boarding, daycare as an ancillary service to the grooming customers, only for the 9 findings of fact, with 9 stating shall instead of may. Would you call the roll, Carla?
Mayor Burger,
Aye.
Commissioner McClure,
Aye.
Commissioner Locke,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Sight,
Aye.
Commissioner Rogers,
Aye.
motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Thank you, ladies.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then that moves us to department reports. Okay. I'm sorry, not department, city manager, commissioner, and attorney reports. Since our city manager just walked out, I guess I will go. I don't have a lot to report this time. I do have a Four Corners Economic Development meeting in the morning, and I am looking forward to elections being over, whichever way they turn out. So I'll leave that as my report. Mayor Pro Tem.
I have a couple things. I did attend the EDAB meeting last Thursday. We had quite a bit of discussion, but nothing that we can share yet, so. I did attend the BLM meeting on Tuesday. interesting. There was like 600 people there. They had to move us to a different room. Unfortunately, though, they had bussed a bunch of people up from Albuquerque and Santa Fe, and those people signed up ahead of a lot of the local people to speak, even though you had to sign up online. They had you sign up again, and then they took them in order. So the first two, and I was there from 12:30 to, I walked out of there at 5 till 7. And there was 117 people signed up to speak. I was number 109. And I was the last person they allowed to speak because they agreed to do it at 7. So it was kind of a marathon thing. And like I said, unfortunately, they did not get to hear from from very many local people until after about the 3.5 hours, 2.5 hours, before the majority of any local people got to speak. But a lot of good input, and it was good to have the turnout that we had for that meeting. A lot of local oil and gas people that are very concerned about it. So anyway, it was interesting. I did attend the town hall meeting. That was a good dialogue, I think, and the candidate forum. We have another candidate forum tomorrow night at 6 at the Civic Center/Senior Center, so that's good. I also have MPO on Thursday, and I did see DOT out doing some filling of some of the holes on 516. I'm not sure if they got to 550 or not, so. Wanted to compliment Cindy on the Steamers and Dreamers. That was a good turnout. It was fun. The time that I was there, the spunky old broads did a good performance. It was hilarious. So you missed that if you didn't get to go, but it was very good. I guess the only other thing I have is just to get out and vote. No matter who you're voting for, it's important that you speak your mind and vote for the person of your choice. So thank you.
Commissioner Rogers?
I attended my first county commission meeting in a while. I apologize for being lax in that. I had never been to, well, I take that back. Anyway, I was a little stressed about our community meeting, wondering how it was going to turn out and everything, but after the county commission meeting,
You're feeling better?
I'm feeling much better. They were there to oppose the business license, and they were all the way out into the hall, and they were angry and yelling at the commission during the meeting, and one of them had to be gently escorted out, and so I was like, oh. That was very interesting. But there wasn't a whole lot to report other than Mr. Yost in the first tee, but other than that, that's all there was.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Locke?
I don't even know where to start. There's an ugly lamp auction going on at Crash Music Friday, and the funds for that will go to Northwest
Sexual Assault Services
which
of
is
Northwest, yeah.
so very good.
Some of them are really
program.
ugly. I got a sneak peek today. I mean, hideously ugly, but fabulous.
Well, I can't wait to go see the lamps.
Yeah.
Second, I'd like to thank and welcome Haley Isbell for coming to tonight's meeting. She asked if she could shadow me as a politician, and I believe she's gotten a real eye-opener with this election. It's been interesting dealing with media and the detective and all the interviews. It wasn't planned. It wasn't part of my schedule. But it is what it is, and don't forget to vote.
Commissioner McClure?
I have just a couple of things, and I'll be brief. I'd like to thank Cindy. I'll never be able to pronounce your last name right. Acevedo. Acevedo. And I was so close. But I'm Irish or Italian, there we go. Thank you for putting on Steamers and Dreamers. It was great. What a wonderful atmosphere. And I really enjoyed being a spunky old broad second time in 1 year and showing my assets. Anyway, it's great. I hope you continued on. I got some good feedback. A lot of people that were at Steamers and Dreamers ended up going down the street onto Main Street because Crash Music was having a concert that night, and they came in costume, and it was great. They had nothing but good things to say. I I found something, and so, thank you. So, and then I found something in all the junk mail that we get as commissioners. And I actually saved this one instead of trashing it, and you guys probably already know about it. It's called elected.org. And it's small municipalities, 10,000 and under, who have like these conversations. Well, this came up in our thing, and here's how we handled it. And I was just touching on it, but I thought, we might get some good ideas there, because it's not like Albuquerque or New York City, where you say, well, that doesn't apply. So anyway, elected.org, it's free. Just go in there and look at the posts and stuff like that. And then the other thing, I was hoping the chief was here. I know that Commissioner Locke, as part of her training for working for the county, they had to do this this class on what you do if an active shooter shows up, like at the county commission meeting, right? So an active shooter, someone coming in, blazing away a gun, so they have this 2 to 4 hour class, and everybody wants to get the heck out of there. And I guess they had some guy come in like an active shooter. And the 50 people in the class just froze, except for Commissioner Locke, who ran up there and tackled the guy. And it wasn't a real gun or anything, but I guess they were trying to train them at the trainer, I think, who was a sheriff.
It was Captain Current.
Oh, Captain Current. He could not believe that, number one, it was Commissioner Locke, and she was all dressed up, and all the other guys and police officers and stuff like that just kind of froze when the guy came in and started pretend shooting. So, if it ever happens here, I know we can count on our chief, but also Roberta is good at tackling. So, or Commissioner Locke, I should say, was good at tackling. So kudos to saving the room from a phony gun. But
Thank you.
Could have been real.
You never know if it's going to be real.
That's true.
And I sure don't want to be shot in the back. So,
Anyway, that's all
for
I have.
running.
All the board meetings that we have coming up with everybody on boards is coming up once the holidays are over. So I've not been to the Echo Food Bank Board meeting till Thursday. Thank you.
Just a reminder, I'll be out of town for the rest of the week, beginning tomorrow afternoon. I've got a continuing legal education seminar in Albuquerque.
All right. Department reports.
Everybody looks at you. You're up.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Commissioners. I would like to thank you again for your support in granting Steamers and Dreamers the startup fees. Although I did have the gears already turning, it did make it easier to pull off an event in such a short time. I think it was very successful, fun and unique, and it was well received, and I think it's good for Aztec. And we had 33 people sign up for a club, and they were expressing interest in having a summer steampunk convention. So we're going to be meeting soon to plan for the future of Steamers and Dreamers, and I'm looking forward to having a committee of 33.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good luck.
It was, which reminds me, I would like to recognize Kate Skinner and Ed Kotique for all of their help. And last but not least, and Katie McClure, she was very supportive, and Max McIntosh. I know that it's got to be hard to be my son. For Claudia, it's only because in my life, I'm about going to one event and coming from another event, and I'm always dragging him behind. So I appreciate him. And also, there was support throughout the city, which I thought was really cool. The Aztec restaurant staff dressed up steampunk for the day, as well as Durango Joe's staff. And then the marquee outside of the Step Back In was welcoming the steampunk visitors, and I thought that was really cool. Ed didn't wait for me, but here are some scenes from inside the convention. So without further ado, yeah, he didn't wait for me. And also, I wanted to say, in the morning, we had an audience participation square dancing, which I expected the morning to start out slow. So that was kind of good. It kind of warmed people up. They had time to visit and talk about steampunk. And And then around 1, it really started to pick up, and toward the evening, we had absolutely a full house. And it was a lot of fun. We had hat-making panels and the spunky old broads showing their gassets, and we had an air guitar and cello performance with Max and Adrian.
Where's the picture of you, Ed, and your wife?
Not there.
They had like the best costume.
Our very own Ed Cotique won the best of show. I'm telling you, from all the conventions that I've been to, for him being a first-timer, he nailed steampunk.
He sure did.
His outfit was precise, it was clean, it was steampunk all the way, and it was so humble. I had to convince him, no, it's not because we know you and love you. No, it's not because you helped.
It's
He
legit.
absolutely deserved it. Yeah, it was really good. And the vendors commented they were very successful with their booths, and I think the whole day just went off without a hitch, and so thank you once again.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Cindy.
Didn't you say you had like 300 people?
We did. We had around 300 people. And Eric at the front desk, he had this thing, 10 to get in, and, you know, so, we did. We had, a lot of people signed in, but not everyone, so it's kind of hard to judge, but with the 10 to get in and the deposit, I think there was close to 300 people.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, it was great fun, and I'm looking forward to moving forward to the future with Steamers and Dreamers. So, and I will add, everyone was so excited that it stood for more than just a convention. When I told them that it was the foundation for the Good Neighbors, which is the extension for cities clean and strong, they were so excited to be a part of something bigger. So I'm looking forward to working with them on that as well. So, thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay. All right, if there are no other department reports, then I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Thank
in
you,
favor.
everyone. Have a great evening.